I'm Dr. Jodi.
And I'm Lily.
And tonight we're talking about the catharsis of watching scary movies or horror movies. So a lot of people like horror movies and scary movies. Obviously, they wouldn't make them unless there was a huge attraction to these kind of movies. And tonight we're going to talk about why. We have some different opinions and we have some really more questions than answers for you tonight, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any answers.
No.
No information.
No information.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. And even when we did some research online, it seems to be a psychological mystery why some people like scary movies and it helps them have a catharsis. And we're going to define catharsis for you. And why some people are actually more triggered and more dysregulated by a scary movie like moi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like scary movies. You don't.
I do not.
But I'm kind of new. Hopped on the
bandwagon.
Is that late? Wait, hopped on the wagon late.
Hopped on the bandwagon late. We had a really long day, and this is the second time we're recording. This is pre-recorded because I'm out of town instead of doing a live show tonight. So this is our second recording. We're kind of like, we had a really long day today, actually. So bear with us. We need a scary movie for the catharsis, actually. We had a lot of baby time. We were in the car for a very long time, but we need a catharsis like right now.
What if we just cried instead of...
We could just cry instead of...
This is scary. This day was scary. Talking about a scary movie.
It wasn't scary in any way, but
no, it was.
But it's so interesting because I know people, because I work with a lot of people who have panic attacks, they have anxiety, they have depression, they have history of trauma, and some of them really like scary movies, and some of them don't. And so I have some ideas and some theory about this, but for the people who like them, they do provide a catharsis. No, so a catharsis is a release of energy. It comes from the word purification. Catharsis.
No, it does it?
Yeah, catharsis with a K is from ancient Greek, right? Aristotle used the word catharsis.
No,
you see it yeah, but you see it sometimes with a C and sometimes with a K. In some places it says they're actually the same word. It's just that, the Greek alphabet used K. But Aristotle talked about it as the audience experience of the tragedy when they're watching a show. And I think we'll talk a little bit about being an audience to a show and how that is good for us or heals us. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and why that is helpful to helping us bring out our emotions or make meaning around them. When you have trauma, you have this experience and there's a lot of chaos in that experience of the trauma. And so we have to try to make some kind of order to it, sense of it. And so we attach some meaning to it. And it's hard to do that when you're experiencing it. Before you process the trauma, it's like you're reliving it because it's in present time until it's processed and made meaning and you put it in the memory. And then you don't have that same consequences of trauma after you do that. But before you process the trauma, it's like raw. It's like you're living it currently in present time. And so when people went to a show or watched a fiction and experienced the characters go through a dramatic event or a traumatic time or a crisis or something, they were able to process their own trauma by watching that. And I'm saying it in past tense, but that was like how Aristotle came up with the word catharsis, because it's like a release of emotions or a purification. So the connotation is that it's a healing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, but he didn't mean it like that. I mean, we don't know what he meant.
We don't know what he meant.
Just for clarification,
we don't know what Aristotle meant.
Yeah. But that is widely accepted as the purification and newer studies and
because
since other
so long we have watched entertainment as a way to either come out of our lives, come out of our head, get a distraction from what we're going through, survive it. And also, does it have some therapeutic benefits to help us understand things, understand people, reconnect to the love or the humanity?
Okay, so then why don't you like it? Like, why don't some people like it?
Well, I love story. I love dramatic story. I mean, every story that you're going to read or see on TV, if there's no drama and there's no crisis, like it's boring. No one will watch it. There's got to be some kind of crisis.
You're right.
And to kind of grab at our emotions, so we go on this journey with the characters, and we could relate or see yourself in the characters or feel understanding. Like sometimes when you see the characters go through something, you feel like an understanding of it. So that's all movies, but we're talking specifically about horror movies. I experienced that with other kind of movies, but not with horror movies.
Well, I wonder if it's just like the dosage you need. Like everyone's different, so it could be like if 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 stories help you process information, it helps humanity like since forever. Story art helps you process emotions. It helps you, I don't know, get through. It distracts you. I don't know, it provides a lot for you. And so if so, but then it depends on like people are all different. Some people don't like sad movies, but I love watching sad movies and crying to them. But some people are just like, why would I ever watch that? And so I wonder if people's preferences are that I don't know. There's like not I'm sure there's an explanation, but like we don't have an explanation for why some people like mint chocolate chip ice cream and some people don't. I mean, it's just our individuality. So that
Or
makes
acquired
sense.
taste.
Or acquired taste. Or like
Like if your whole family likes horror movies,
you're gonna grow up.
you might grow up liking that.
Desensitized and like
Yeah, and if your whole family likes sports, you grow up liking sports, or not always.
Is there like a thing where the only fears that are you're born with are like fear of the dark and something else?
Oh,
I don't even know. There's like a fact that you're only born with like two fears, and one.
I think it's three. It's abandonment, rejection, and there's three because it's in my book. Abandonment, rejection, and being trapped. Those are like the three basic fears.
Oh.
And they're really all. I really just.
I really thought it was the fear of the dark.
I really did a lot of research, and so if you think about it, a fear of rejection and fear of abandonment, and then fear. Oh, there's a thumbs up when I'm doing the counting on my fingers, and a fear of being trapped are actually all the same fear. It's a fear of being unworthy. Like you're unworthy, so someone leaves you, or you're unworthy of being accepted, so you're abandoned, or you're unworthy of it's me. You're unworthy of, I don't know if you all could see this in the recording, but we're getting the thumbs up on our screen. Like, like Zoom has those
like the emoji.
So, or fear of being trapped is like you're not worthy of freedom, right? So there's really a fear that you're unworthy or unloved is the basic human fear because we're social beings and we need to belong. But so the catharsis of scary movies for some people, and we were thinking about this a little bit too, like people who have experienced trauma, you'd think that they couldn't handle that, but it's really split down the middle too. We're also thinking is that people with more empathy can't watch it. Like I was saying, because we were discussing it a little bit beforehand, but I was saying that I have a lot of empathy. So when I watch a scary movie, it's like I'm experiencing it and I get really dysregulated and really upset. And I don't, and I feel vulnerable of the world,
But then I was like, I feel like an empathetic person, and I don't mind watching.
Because you think of it as fiction, you know that they're actors.
I do. Yes, I do. I know. I do.
Know that.
Like I know that. I know that they're like what the set looks like behind.
You could imagine what the set looks like.
Yeah, you're right. I can imagine, and I know that they're acting, and like everyone does, but. That doesn't bother me because I know that they're actors. But if I watch like the news, then I will get upset. Or true crime, I still like. I don't know why, but it is more upsetting than a horror movie. True crime will make me feel kind of gross, but I will watch it. I watch it with my dad. With dad.
So there's the different, like you wouldn't watch them alone.
You're right. I wouldn't watch them. I wouldn't watch a horror movie alone as much either. Like probably ever. I only like it when I'm watching it with friends and we're all scared. Because I don't even like watching it. Yeah.
Like there's a bonding.
I don't even like watching it when I'm the only one scared. That's not fun because I think they're gonna scare me. I don't like being scared. I'm not like an adrenaline junkie. I don't like
jumping on airplanes.
No, I will never.
Well, so it's interesting because we're split down the middle. So it's not like if you have empathy, no. Half of the people with empathy like it, half the people don't. Half the people that experience big trauma like it, half of them don't. So that's not necessarily the answer. And so the only answer we could come up with is that fact that it's the way we make meaning around it. Because there are adrenaline junkies. There are people who love that thrill of going fast or jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping or something. And then there's people who hate that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same hormone, right? So it's the same biological experience, but it's the meaning that we make around how we feel it that makes a difference.
So then that is still like the dosage. Like I don't know if you because that they just like want more than I do when I only want a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. There's some people like if they're having trouble accessing that fear, they have it, but they're pushing it down because they're really afraid of letting it come out. And this could be unconscious. You're really afraid of letting it come out because you're afraid that you'll go off some insanity cliff and never come back to yourself. So people really keep it under lock and key, like not wanting to get anxious. But if you're watching a scary movie, there's ability to go there, even if it's temporary, and not and feel like you're still safe, like that in reality you're safe. And so that's why some people are able to go there, but I'm not. I guess if it was like really obviously or crazy fiction, I'd be okay. But like I was thinking about like the Lord of the Rings. There's upsetting things that happen in the Lord of the Rings or in like Harry Potter or Hunger Games. There's very upsetting things that happen that are disturbing. I do get my nervous system is thrown off by those things.
We know that
for sure.
They're not scary movies. Like they're not generally considered as scary movies.
But for me, they're upsetting. Anything that's upsetting, anything
Kids
that's
in
upsetting,
trouble,
kids in trouble or people
Hunger
dying.
Games.
I mean, and so all of that stuff, for me, I experience a deregulation on that. Like I feel vulnerable in the world. I'll have nightmares. I could watch that stuff. Like I did watch Game of Thrones and I did watch uh Outlander, but it definitely would have bad dreams about it. Like definitely my body was processing it. And some nights I would have to watch a comedy.
Yeah.
I would have to do the catharsis with the comedy. Like the laughter releases it for me. And I was thinking that sometimes there's dramas and so it's such a really tender or dramatic scene, and then there's something funny to help the audience release it.
Yeah, and then everyone laughs so hard.
Yeah, it's like really outrageously funny because you need to release that tension that you're feeling. So sometimes storylines or sometimes artistic directors,
That's actually
writers
kind of
do
what we
that.
talked about last time I was on, because we were talking about how like comedy can be dealt with and it can help you with trauma or dealing with like the hard times.
Well, but laughter, I mean, any
laughter.
comedy and laughter increases your neuroplasticity in your brain. And so if you're trying to shift a feeling or emotion or a pattern or a way you're thinking or something like that, increasing your neuroplasticity, there's other ways to do it, like music and movement, those kind of things. But laughter is a very quick way to increase your neuroplasticity. Mm-hmm. So I through time immemorial, people have used entertainment. Like back in history, there was like plays and watching.
Well, that's Aristotle's like. That's where Catharsis about, or was speaking like the first time he mentioned it in Poetics was about tragedy and what tragedy does to the viewer. But something, because I'm in a Catharsis class, and something about like that we're talking about is that like the chorus, like the Greek chorus, isn't necessarily as much of like there's an audience watching the chorus. It's like the audience is participating in it and also feeling the same things as the performers, and they're like it's like a group thing that like
the group therapy
gets everyone. Yeah, it's like group therapy, and the catharsis happens through that song and dance that is like almost participated with the audience. Like there's more of a meshing between like stage in the audience.
I mean, I
Does that
think
make
it's
sense?
true even now. There's been a lot of research on the transformative power of being in a live audience, watching live theater.
Mhm.
There's a connection. There's like you're having a common experience together. There's a
Your heartbeats align.
Your heartbeats
Yeah.
align.
Like the audience, there's studies that like in a live theater performance that your heartbeats can sync. I think. I mean, that sounds crazy, but I think there was.
I can find that article and then I'll link to it. I'll find that article because it's really amazing how the audience, there's a connection that happens in an audience.
Yeah.
For watching it. And I feel like that is really healing. There's stuff that's really powerful because we're social beings. There's something really powerful that can happen in groups and being witnessed and witnessing in a group that is powerfully healing for us. And it's something that can't happen necessarily just one-on-one therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In narrative therapy, we do this thing called definitional ceremony, and so I would interview the client about their story, and I'd have an audience listening to it,
What?
and then I would interview. Well, like a couple people I would invite in. So I'd have
Like
a client, like old clients of mine that I've worked with.
And the clients, like obviously they know.
And it could be someone with insider experience. So if I'm working with someone who's been sexually abused, I invite some old clients who've had that experience and they listen. So I interview the client about not like the horrible and the tragedy, but I interview them about the resilience and what they've done despite having that experience. Right. So their preferred story, their preferred identity. And then I interview the other clients, and my client is an audience to them. And they could see themselves through someone's eyes. Because we're not having a conversation together, they're able to have that distance to be able to just witness their story through someone's eyes. So it's like there's a telling of the story, then there's a retelling of the story.
Yeah.
And then I go back to my client, they're in the audience again. I mean, they're all in the same room, but there's like a wall that we're not talking to each other. And so then I would interview my client about what they heard. So there's a telling of the story, a retelling, and then a retelling of the telling. And that it's a really powerful healing experience. So there's something so it's not only a horror movie, I guess. It could be like any kind of drama.
Yeah.
And some people like horror movies because they're maybe so ridiculous or so fictional. It's a safer way to have that catharsis.
And some people are the opposite.
Some people like a real story.
It is
true. They really want someone to understand what they're feeling. They want realness or something. And so I think that's a matter of taste, or the matter of meaning making. So it's a matter of like, I like chocolate chip ice cream, or what I like in the meaning I make. Like a scary movie makes me upset for no reason. That's my meaning. And so I'm like, I'm avoiding that, but I can. There's some things that anxiety wants you to avoid because you're like, that's scary. That's out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you sacrifice things if you're missing out on that. I don't feel like if I don't watch horror movies, I don't feel like I'm missing out on a whole like opportunity in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's okay for me to be like, yeah,
it's a conscious
not interested.
Too. It's not like you're like, it's not like the whole family's watching horror movies and you're like, I'm missing out with my family. Like,
sometimes I choose not to watch a movie.
Yes, but it's a conscious choice. You're like, I don't need. It's not like you're afraid of it. You're just like, I don't need to feel that way tonight. Yeah.
So sometimes I would watch that movies with people or with family, and I would feel upset. I'm okay by the next day or something, but my whole body feels upset. Like I said, I would have nightmares sometimes. But I remember seeing Titanic for the first time. And I remember this really clearly because it was the first time I was with my husband. And it was the first time he saw me like have this reaction where my anxiety came out. And I was like, we need like an alarm system. It was like I was vulnerable in the world. My system was so dysregulated and I was kind of having panic. And I was thinking like, we're unsafe everywhere. And that's where, thinking about the sinking ship and then getting burglarized doesn't seem to connect. But to me, I was just like, the world is a scary place. And that's just not a good feeling. I mean, I would have missed Titanic if I didn't watch it because like it's a classic. But and so there's some movies I watch, and I'm a little bit better now than I was back then, especially if I know what's going to happen. Like I could prepare myself. I'd rather read the book first, and but I've kind of in culture, I kind of taught myself to deal with harder.
Yeah, I do feel like you
material.
are better about. I mean, it's not like you needed to be, but you do watch. Yeah, I mean, you watched all of Game of Thrones. Like,
Yeah,
that's upsetting.
and I watched those.
I know this is.
Stuff
I mean,
too.
none of this that we've really been talking about is horror. But,
No, I know, but I'm.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous how like horror. Forget it.
I know. What is this even about?
Lord of the Rings. I'm like.
Yeah, but that's the matter.
But to each its own, really. To each its own. Like it's okay if you. You know, I was talking to my nephew today, and he was saying he likes nonfiction. Like he just enjoys it more. He can't like get into fiction, which is like crazy to me because I love fiction.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I love stories. I think they're really important for people to get you out of your head, to get in somebody else's story. Mm-hmm. But nonfiction could do that too. And mostly nonfiction could talk about and you could learn something. So that's really powerful. He wasn't really talking about self-help. That's not what he's interested in. But some people who have anxiety and panic read self-help. Of course, I've written self-help. My books are available. You can go in one of these corners and get the card and get to my book. But but some people read so many self-help books and they actually really are giving a lot of attention to their problem. That's not okay either. But all right, well, I'm so glad you watched. I guess we gave you more questions than answers. If you are someone that feels the catharsis of horror movies and you're like, something's wrong with me, nope, nothing is wrong with you. It is okay. It is a very human thing that has been going on for millennia. Humans having catharsis from watching crisis drama unfolding, whether it's fiction or in the gladiator ring, basically. How awful is that? But yeah, I mean, really, if you look at throughout history, they were doing those kind of things. Yeah. And so obviously there's some kind of catharsis that's happening for people who are living through really hard times that process it in that way. It feels like a sad part of human history, but I don't know. I guess I shouldn't judge really, but I do. I do judge gladiators and putting human slaves in with an animal.
Yeah, well, that's different than like Scream. I mean, Scream isn't really that. Like watching a horror movies, like I mean, I like it,
but it still is like
it's like true crime.
I know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not because we don't want. I'd rather not have true crime than watch whatever and teach their own.
I mean, it's all over Netflix. It's all over Prime. Like these things sell, and so you're kind of wondering what's wrong with us or what's right about watching these things that gives us catharsis that helps us somehow cope with our world. Or does it make it worse, or what is going on? And if you look that up and psychologically, I don't think anyone has a true answer. I think for everybody, they have a different kind of experience, but there's something that has stood the test of time. So there's something to look at. Like there is that like inner violence in us or something like that we really still have to heal, or there's a history of trauma that we have to heal, or we're living out through these other traumas that maybe it is really a call to healing for us, but I don't know. If you like horror movies, good on ya. That's great. That doesn't mean anything bad. It means that you are doing it your way and you're liking it and you're making meaning around it the way that you like it. So thanks for watching, and we are live every Monday at 8 p.m. Sometimes it's me, sometimes Lily's with me. We always have a new topic. So come on over to my website, jodiaman.com/guide. Get my Generation Z mental health resource guide, and you'll get on the list to get the notifications for every topic of our episode that week, so you can know what's going on. And if you come over to YouTube and watch it there, you could ask questions live. Sometimes we have a call-in feature, so look for that too. So click the link, click the bell, and come watch us live. wherever it is. We don't know if we're in mirror or not. So, all right. See you next week.
Bye.